Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Husam. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, welcome to Global Strategy Execution Summit.
Thank you.
So, let me give a quick introduction. So, I would like to introduce the next speaker. The topic is making change contagious for successful enterprise strategy execution, presented by Dr. Husam Abu Amara. Okay. So, just a quick brief about Dr. Husam. Dr. Husam Abu Hamara, a seasoned leader with over 25 years of business experience, adept at navigating complex challenges and driving success across various industries. With a doctorate of business administration in strategy planning and corporate governance, Dr. Amara brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. Certified as a strategy management professional, executive systems thinker and planner, balance scorecard master professional, and tipping point change management consultant. He is well equipped to navigate complex challenges and drive success across industries. Don't miss this opportunity to learn from his expertise and discover how to make change contagious for successful enterprise strategy execution through dialogue and action. Welcome, Dr. Hussam. I think we will be very lucky to hear you again. So thank you very much for joining. Please, over to you, Dr. Hussam.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I think good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Uh, Today's session actually, as Mr. Kader said, that it would be about change, okay, in strategy execution. According to the IASP, the International Association of Strategy Professionals, like the strategy activities are five different groups. And those activities are starting from building the strategy, then going to the transformation, then going to the execution, and then the strategy governance, and then behind all this is the stakeholders engagement. And we know all that these five strategy activities creates the production line of the strategy management of any organization. As you know, part of this strategy transformation and execution is the change management. So to make change in organizations, we would like always, because as you know that most of the as we know from the statistics that strategy fails, Harvard Business Review and all kinds of resources indicates that 75 to 80% and sometimes even 90% of strategy fails and never go through the execution. And part of this is the lack of the execution chain and the overlooking of the strategic change. In the world of strategy, we have so many models of change management, and you are aware of this word now, like change management, whatever. But actually, I personally, certified in many change management frameworks. But uh, finally, I got into something like for few years, actually, not recently, but for a few years, I got into a model that is actually different and very effective and very genuine and very brief, very small. It's not actually ambiguous. It's a talk, and you cannot measure. Most of the models of change management are very ambiguous. I mean, like, yeah, you can hear good words. They make sense, but actually you cannot put them to real work. and and uh, and you cannot see that they're really controlling the work within the organization. So that's why this model, it's called the tipping point, and organizational change. It's one of the most effective and very brief and genuine kind of models. Qadir, just technical, like a technical thing. Now I uploaded the presentation to this platform, but the it doesn't look like it's you know it's different, and it made the slides different little bit. So shall I share from my own computer, or just we have to keep doing this?
So this is the same presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, same. But it's the framework is different little bit. I mean, like it made different. Uh,
Mhm.
it
Okay.
made changes to the format of the
It got
slides.
distorted. Ah, okay.
Now,
Shall we upload?
these slides are on the presentation mode now, or
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Can you try? Oh, there is
You
some
see,
distortion.
it's not the format is not coming in a good shape. I don't know. I cannot present directly from my computer.
Yeah, yeah. You can share it from your side. Just keep the slide open. Okay, in the presentation mode, and then share your screen.
But from where this platform is a bit weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what is
So
going.
yeah, there is something called present in the bottom. If you are able to see it.
Yeah, I did present. Then it says upload your files. So
Yeah, you can upload if it is possible.
I did upload, but this is the upload.
No. Okay. If you-
So
so when you just click present, Dr. Hussam, there is
yes,
a last one share screen.
share screen. Yes.
Yeah, can you try that, please, if you don't mind?
Okay, screen sharing works. Okay, share screen. Yes.
Keep the presentation open so that
Okay. Can you see that now?
no.
I shared the my screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we got you. Yeah, you can
Oh,
put it in the presentation mode.
I did. There's a delay. Okay. Did you see the presentation?
So when you just click a present, there will be
I
three
did.
windows.
I did,
Yeah,
and I did the to the side the presentation mode.
yeah. Then when you just present, okay. So when you present, there will be another tab in the window. Okay. So you can select that.
I did. I did. I did. Uh,
Uh, I think you shared the screen. Okay, so if there is a window sharing, when you just present it, you will
I
find three
did, I did,
windows.
I did, I did, I
You
did share
did?
the screen. Yeah, I did share the window. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is the
In window, you have to choose the.
yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Hussam, when you present it, okay, when you choose a window, why in that window you choose the presentation mode one.
Yes, I know, and I did that actually. There's a delay in the in this share screen. Okay, and then I chose window, and then I say share. No, I'm sharing my presentation mode. Can you see that now?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming up. Yeah, please
Okay.
proceed.
Sorry for this. Actually, you should do rehearsal on these things beforehand, Kader. Anyway, so let's go back to the applying the change model to the transformation and execution of strategy. There's a model called the tipping point. Of course, the tipping point as a word uh, is very important about change because it's actually the point that makes the difference into the organizational life. When you say tipping point, it's like the point that where you have the nuclear explosion. You know, like after the many thousands of chain reactions within the nuclear interaction, you will have the tipping point where the explosion happens, and actually this will make the biggest change ever in the life of the organization, and that's what we call it, the tipping point. So we have to change for changing, and that's actually uh, what we hear from the wisdom. Like, for example, Albert Einstein is saying that problems that we created with our current level of thinking can't be resolved with the same level of thinking. So to be able to change things, we have to change. So we have to change our way of doing things. We have to change our mindset. We have to change our impressions. We have to change everything to be able to change. The more we change, the more changing can happen successfully. Stephen Haynes, our mentor, said insanity is to expect different results while we keep doing things in the same way, and we will keep getting the same results while we keep doing this. So, and then the last proverb or saying is about Hercules said, change is the only constant in life. These are facts about change. So to make change happening, we have to change. We have to believe in change that is good. Change is good. I mean, we have to believe in this. That's actually one of the most important facts in life. As Heracles said, that change is the only constant in life. So everything changes. Okay. Now, uh, maybe if you follow my sessions before, if you follow my work here and there, you will know that I'm a system oriented person, like systems oriented thinker, and I always think about organizations as systems. And if we want to analyze and do a little bit of analysis to organizations, and we go to the definitions of organizations, we will see that businessdictionary.com, for example, is defining the organization as a social unit of people that is structured and managed to meet a need or to pursue a collective goal. Merriam-Webster is organized body of people with particular purpose, especially a business society, association, etc. The Wikipedia is defining the organization as the entity such that as an institution or association that has collective goal and is linked to external environment. You see all these definitions define the same organization, firms, commissions, associations, consortiums, agencies, etc. But if we take the focal points of these or the shared points of these definitions, we'll see like unit of people, structured, pursue collective goals, organized body of people, particular purpose, entity, collective goals, linked to external environment, and we put these things or these repeated words into a building blocks. We'll see that the organization are built of unit of people, organized body of people, structured entity. They have particular purpose, pursue collective goals, has a collective goal linked to external environment. So you will see that the components are interaction, structure, people, and goals. And you have the external environment. And on the top of this, you will see that all these four elements like structure, interaction, people, and goals, they are combined in a defined unit. So organizations are defined units. Organizations are not like a cloud. They are physical structures. So, and this is what we call organization. So if you can see this, and you see the definition of a system, like why we say organizations are open systems. And you see the definition of a system, the definition of a system according to the general system theory is a set of components that work together for the overall objective of the whole. And this theory was the general system theory was put by four superstar Nobel Prize winners. They founded the General Systems Association or Society back in the 1940s, 1950s, and led by Ludwig von Bertalanffy. And this general systems theory is talking about systems and to deal with the world as systems. And it's assuming that systems, as you can see here, they are created of input, output, there is a system throughput, and there is a boundary, and there is environment that actually affecting or impacting that system, as you know. And from here, we say organizations are open systems. So if organizations are open systems, so we have the same thing, interaction, output, components, objectives, and we have the system boundary. So in fact, this is a fact, not a coincidence, that organizations are living or open systems. Open systems means that they are deal with the environment, they are impacted by the environment around them, they affect and get affected by the environment. That's why Ludwig von Bertalanffy, the father of system thinking in the 20th century, he said, in one way or another, we're forced to deal with complexities with wholes or systems in all fields of knowledge. This implies a basic reorientation in our scientific thinking. Why we're talking about that? We're talking about this because change in organization or in organizations should take the system's nature, not the machine nature or the linear way of thinking nature. That's why you see many change management efforts are failing because they are not actually compatible with the nature of systems. That's why they fail. So the moment that we acknowledge that organizations are systems, then we have to start thinking differently. As you can see, in the non-systemic way of thinking or change management, we will see that the variable has independent effect on the outcome. So we have many levers of change, many actions of change that impact the population mix within the organization in that way. So we don't interact, we don't connect these levers or these forces of change together, but we measure their impact directly to the population mix. And this is actually not system thinking. This is actually linear thinking, or what we call it in the logical thinking, or what we call it machine thinking, whatever we call it. So this is actually contrast with the systems thinking approach. The system thinking approach is different. It captures the important interrelations and make a dynamic feedback with different levers or different actions that impacts change. Okay. Now we will come to the tipping point model and how it applies to the change management into organizations. So actually, the tipping point model in change management, it's impacted by the lessons learned from the public health. Okay, so it's a model for organizational change based on lessons from public health. What is lesson from public health? So as you know that the title of this session is making a contagious change at work. Contagious change means that's actually the lesson that we want to take the good ideas that we want to change the organization with and make it contagious. Okay, why? Because organizations, I want you to hear to this word or this statement very carefully. Organizations doesn't change, but people within organizations change, and that makes the change in organizations. So, if we want to spread the change and make it contagious, so making the commitment contagious. So we have to look at the public health. So if we take, for example, if we answer this question, how does the flu or coronavirus spread? We have will people are getting in contact with the contagious people, and then the first thing the will people will be transferred into incubators who carries the virus. Yet, they can be contagious, or they can be sick, or they will get well and get back, from the incubation to the well side of the equation. This is actually the basic concept of how flu or coronavirus or any epidemic can spread. So we want to use this concept in making the change happen. Okay, like uh, making the change contagious. Okay, within the organization. So we have to turn this lesson around to create positive epidemic of support for organizational change initiative. All right. So that's why I said the tipping point exam model of change is a very unique and specific and genuine by using this kind of activity and make it like on the positive side. So the creating a positive epidemic or spreading the idea, as you know, we have uh, we have uh, we have a contact between the advocates and the apathetics, because people who does not know, who does not care about change, or they feel that they're not affected by change. And there are the advocates who are advocating and asking people to believe in the change, as you know, in any change effort. So this contact between them will first transfer them, as we said, for incubators. So the incubator will be here, what we call the incubators. And then, depending on many factors, these incubators can become advocates of that change and join that group, or go back to be an apathetic. Okay. Or even worse, to become resistors to that change. So, as you can see here, we have four types of people towards change. We have the apathetics, okay, and we have the incubators, and we have the advocates, and we have the resistors. So that's actually the analogy of spreading the epidemic within the organization and making the organization a change contagious. So from here, we see apathetics, we see incubators, we see advocates, we see resistors. Okay, now the difference in this tipping point model is it's actually it's a model that challenge assumptions about change. Okay, because people think organizational change is about organizations, but they never think that it's actually about changing the people and making the people more committed to change and increasing the pool of advocates within the organization. So this kind of model creates actually creates a shared view between people within the organization, that we have a different way to affect or impact the organizational change. We call it the seven levers of change, and then they apply what they learn, and they start actually having the same view about change and the real progress within the organization. Okay, so the tipping point, actually, if we come back to the definition of the tipping point, the tipping point is the point that describes the interval of time. It's not exactly a point, it's just an interval of time. And this interval can be short or can be long, it depends on the organizational situation. But it marks the shift clearly towards faster and exponential growth in performance and in achieving the goals of the organization. So so when you see the curve of growth between the number of followers of the change, we have to repeat again that the organization does not change. People within organization change, and that's why to be able to make the change happen or the change happening, we have to change people. The more we change people to the desired outcomes, the more the change will happen in the organizations. So, so the main sign of this point of time, okay, uh, is the number of employees or workers or followers joining the idea and embracing the proper attitude towards the desired change. So if you can see here, look at the period before the 18 months. Okay, so if we take like 0 to 12, 12 to 24, 24 to 36, you will see that from that point, okay, up, you will see that the growth is tremendous. Okay, and this curve is design is divided by 12, 24 to 36, and that's not a coincidence, because experts say change happens when you are working really seriously on change between you cannot see any result of change before 36 months, real results. But the tipping point of organizations work harder on making the change in the organization, the tipping point happens on the 18 months, like a year and a half. From there you will start seeing the real difference in change. So like when people start strategic execution, they think, oh, what happened? Okay, we're executing our strategy, but we don't see change. Change needs time. Change needs time. So according to experts, the change starts to happen when you work really on change. Starts to happen starting from the 18 months. Like you work hard, and then you will start seeing the results appearing after the 18 months of the period, of the cycle, of the time. And then if you keep working on that, you will start to see the exponential point going here, and you will see that this period is called the tipping point. And if you fail here and you say, no, we are not changing, we're not getting results, and you abandon your efforts, here we will have the problem, and you will start losing the advocates, and you will start losing the successful change in the organization, and you will start actually going out of the ring completely and lose all the efforts. So we need patience in change, and we need continuous efforts to make change happen, to achieve the exponential growth and hit the tipping point that actually shifts the organizational performance. Okay, so remember, again and again, we don't change organizations, we change people within organizations. So the more people within the organization who believes in change, who embraces change, then the more change can happen, the more positive change can happen within organizations. So the tipping point actually, by the way, tipping point has been made into a simulation. So we run this workshop for organizations to change, and we have a simulation model, and we can show people the change quantitatively how the change will work. Like using the seven levers of change will impact the organizational change. Would it be successful or not? When the tipping point will happen, the tipping point is happening or not, and so on and so forth. That's why I said in the beginning, this type of models is very quantitative and very to the point type of changing model. So uh, the basics of this tipping model, the change in tipping point is we have an energized environment, we have appropriate advocates, and we have a compelling content. So the compelling content, you cannot do any change without a compelling content. Okay, so the idea, the thing that you are going to, we call it the vision, okay, and the mission of the organization is your compelling content. The urgency, the need of change. Why are we changing? This is what we call compelling content. Okay, the energized environment is the infrastructure, leadership, and rewards that are aligned with the change. The appropriate advocates, that are the messengers who understand the problem and the situation and advocate others to embrace the change towards that. Okay. Okay. Now, if we go back to the four ties of people towards the change, the apathetics, incubators, advocates, and resistors, and we see the seven levers of change. So the lever of change, remember, it's a lever. Okay, so you can use little of it, you can use much of it. It depends on the situation. So as you can see here, it's sliding right and left. This just to remind you that we can use these levers of change or arms of change or tools of change in a different quantities and different magnitudes. So the first lever of change is contact, is the direct contact between the advocates and the apathetics in the organization. That creates incubators. And the second lever of change is the mass exposure. Mass exposure means the public uh, exposure of the change. Okay, campaigns, big events, uh, too much noise about change. All right, this is what we call the mass exposure lever. The third, actually, if you can see, these two types of levers can impact the change from apathetics will increase to incubators. So to change apathetics to incubators, we apply these two levels of our two levers of change, and then incubators can move into advocates. And then, but the problem that as we said, if we misuse or during due to several reasons, we can have incubators going back to apathetics, and then also we can have some incubators going back to resistors. uh, so this here to impact this movement between apathetics, incubators, and advocates, we have to watch the environmental support environment, the support within the organization, the environment of the organization. We have to support it. And as you can see, the environmental support impacts all the relationships within the organization, impacts the transform of apathetics to incubators, from incubators to advocates, from incubators back to resistors, from apathetics to incubators. So environmental support is very important to impact all these relationships to control the population mix. So there are three levers attached to the environmental support, which are the infrastructure, walk the talk by leaders, and reward and recognition. Okay, so we have now three more new levers of change. Are called the infrastructure, walk the talk, and reward and recognition. These are impacting directly the environmental support. Okay, and this controls actually the population mix. Population mix means the number of advocates versus the number of apathetics or resistors. So we need more advocates. So playing with these things will increase that. Now there are two more levers, and they are about people also. So they are about hiring and attrition. So hiring advocates and shifting resistors. No, look, we're not saying removing resistors. We're saying shifting resistors. Now, so in brief, now, as you can see, with all these relationships and network, we have seven levers of change that impact the population mix within the organization in different stages. So we have the contacts, the max exposure, we have the infrastructure, walk the talk, reward and recognition, hire advocates, and shift resistors. These are the seven levers of change that impact the whole mechanism of change in the organization and makes the change happen. The more and the wiser we use these levers of change, the more we can make the commitment and the change contagious within the organization. Now we'll start going through different stages of definition of how and when can we use these levers of change. Okay, so now we have people support levers of change. The people support levers of change are four, as you can see. We have the contacts, mass exposure, higher advocates, and shift resistors. Environmental support levers are affect also indirectly. So we have the infrastructure, walk the talk, and reward and recognition. So the levers of change are divided into two segments: people support, levers of change; environmental support, levers of change. So the people support levers of change are contacts, mass exposure, hiring advocates, and shifting resistors. Environmental support levers of change are three: infrastructure, walk the talk, and rewards recognition. Remember, all this impact the population mix. So the contacts, which is a direct contact, emphasize the direct contact between the advocates and the apathetics to transfer the beliefs and experience with the change, uh, to make people or apathetics within the organizations believe in that change. All right. The mass exposure is the general marketing messages and broad training and whatever, like you make a big noise about change. This is what we call the mass exposure. The hiring advocates, this is actually very popularly, very commonly used within the organization. When organization, for example, make a new strategy, the first thing they do, they go and hire a new CEO, for example. A new CEO. This is what we call hiring advocates, because they think that controlling people who recently joined the organization is easier than controlling people from within the organization. So they go and hire advocates from outside. Okay, this is what we call hiring experts or specialist advocates from outside. Hiring, for example, people from outside, and this is what we call hiring advocates. And then the fourth lever of change and people support lever of change is shifting resistors. And here uh, we're moving or removing people who are resisting the change. Okay, so this is the four levers that are related to the people support levers of change. Okay, now for the infrastructure or the environmental support, we have the infrastructure. We have to create the right infrastructure within the organization that enable the change, including tools, technologies, processes, job specific training. This is what we call the transformation of the organizations. To support that change, you need really to create the right environment. If you don't have systems, you put systems in place. If you don't have, I hear the previous speaker was speaking about the digital transformation, then you have to do digital transformation. I mean, change the processes, change the organizational design, whatever. This is what we call infrastructure, okay? That will enable the change. Walk the talk, this is the leaders. Leaders should give the example of that. You see, organization that has um, reckless leaders who does not care about change, who does not care about the strategy, and keep telling people, okay, you do it, okay, you do it, and as if they are exempted from that change or that strategy, their change will never happen, because this is very important. You see, the environmental support levers are impacting the whole mechanism within the organization. So walk the talk is the second very important uh, lever of change that impacts the environmental the infrastructure or the environment within the organization. Okay, reward and recognition, of course. There is no change without rewards and R&R. Okay, we call it R&R. Without reward and recognition. So you have to emphasize and give rewards to people who follow the change. Okay, and let's see now how we can use these different levers of change within the organization to make the change happen. Okay, the problem of change that people, a lot of people, they have wrong impressions about change and they take wrong actions and change. So you hear that word too much: quick fix, quick fix, quick fix, right? Quick fix is wrong in change. So the quick fixes that fail, for example, we go and hire advocates. When we have few advocates within the organization relative or relevant to apathetics, the choice is made to hire advocates, to get people from outside the organization, import advocates to the organization. And this kind of quick fix that people use or organizational use and change, they are wrong. And 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 we will see that why they are wrong, because if you hire and increase the number of advocates from outside, okay, yes, you can create that, you can increase the number of advocates, but the resentment will increase. Okay, and also the second quick fix that is failing is the mass exposure. Max exposure becomes less effective, and then at the end we will have a general regression of the advocates, and we will have more increase in the apathetics again. You see, so this quick fix, that of hiring advocates, will impact the mass exposure and also will reduce the advocates at the end, will make a negative attitude towards the change. So instead of doing good, we will do actually bad, and people will start resisting those newcomers because they were, imposed on them within the organization. Okay, so this quick fix, hiring advocates, works for a while, but ultimately made the situation worse, unfortunately. Okay. The second popular wrong actions and change is shifting the burden. Shifting the burden means I told you guys about change. I told you about change is coming. So this is what we call the mass exposure. Okay. Shifting the burden means that you inform everybody about change in a very brutal way. Okay, let's put it that way. Brutal way means you just make it like a big bang. uh, this is what you see in organizations. They make too much spending on making parties, printing, mugs, making that background of the screens and the organization with this change messages, like putting too much pressure on people within the organization. This is what we call shifting the burden, just to let you feel that they are they are done. I mean, they told you about this change, but telling is not enough. So, uh, so this will impact the environmental support levers, but it takes time to implement and see results. You see, So media campaigns is only a small fix, and it takes the focus away from the fundamental solution. The reactions offers increase the media campaign. So mass exposure is another wrong attitude towards the desired change within the organization, because we just want to shift the burden. Okay, the third wrong actions in change is what goes around comes around. Like we have we have to understand that we are controlling the population mix. Population mix, the more advocates, the less and less apathetics, the more change will happen. So if we keep doing this, okay, then without considering the environmental support and the reactions and the actions and the impact of these levers of on the change, then the change will not happen. So we have to use the levers in a very balanced way, so we can have the right impact of the population mix, as you can see here. So our goal is to increase the number of advocates and reduce the number of apathetics within the organization, and without having without impacting directly the people, or like like you are buying the votes. Okay, we have to impact the whole environmental support levers and all the whole people support levers to make the change happen in a balanced way. Okay. Okay. The last wrong action and change is the Goldilocks test. Okay, like Goldilocks test. The Goldilocks is the girl that drank the pudding. Okay, so don't actually, like for example, contact is between advocates and apathetics. We don't use this too much. Yes, it's a powerful lever, but can become ineffective if overused. So we have to use the right magnitude of lever in each stage to be able to make the change happen properly. So we don't exaggerate, we don't make it less. Okay, we just use the right amount of change lever to make the change happen in a balanced way. So yes, contact, as I told, is a powerful lever, but can become ineffective if overused. Mass exposure is also needed. However, too much can be deadly. A substantial portion of reward and recognition must be reserved for products and services. So, like, you don't just keep giving people rewards and recognition and rewards on anything, any act, any action. You have to keep, yeah, give the rewards and recognition, but in the right way, in the right manner, and reserve it for the products and services. Okay, so that's the what we call the Goldilocks test. All right. So, in the organizations, how we follow the success of change. We follow the success of change through what we call the tipping ratio. The tipping ratio is the number of new advocates, compared to the former advocates. So the more advocates we have in the population mix, the more organization will happen. So, and that's defined. That's why I told you the tipping point gives you a quantitative knowledge or quantitative indicator about change, because it measures the number of advocates and give you the ratio. So if you have, so the point here, we have to preserve our advocates that we have, and make sure that they are not transferred into resistors or went back to apathetics, and increase the number of advocates that are joining the change. So here, if we divide the new advocates on the former advocates in every stage, then we get a tipping ratio above one. The more you go above one, the more you are actually in the right way of change. As I said, supporting existing advocates is very important in creating new ones. You have to maintain the former advocates and increase new advocates in the population mix. So, the strategy, actually, the optimized change strategy that we have to use depending on the seven levers of change, establish commitment and leverage advocates early, then use media to spread the word. Yeah, that's actually the optimized strategy. It's wrong to use the mass exposure in the beginning of any change, but you have to use more the contact. Okay, so the first, rely on heavy contact between advocates to spread the word, and then avoid using hiring advocates. Use measured mass exposure after environmental support is built in. Leadership listens to resistors concerns after the change was established. They move to fewer resistors. Initially, they invest heavily in the infrastructure to establish commitment. Senior leaders made the case for the change constantly in success with this walk the talk. They keep the proportion of R&R that depend on the change fairly high. See, this is the optimized strategy. So in the beginning, we focus on contact, direct contact, use optimized level of max exposure, little bit like flyers, whatever, and then avoid hiring advocate in the beginning. Focus on the environmental support, invest heavily in the infrastructure because this investment is not a cost, this is an investment. Walk the talk by leaders, keep the right portion of R&R, and listen to resistors. And we are saying shifting resistors because in resistance, what we have to do is just move the resistors in the beginning, because if you just kick everybody outside from the resistors, then the whole change will be impacted. So if resistors are dangerous, then we can shift them and remove them from the places that they can impact the change to another places that they have less impact on the change. That's why we say shift resistors, not get rid of resistors or kill resistors or whatever. Okay, so that's the optimized actually strategy of change. Uh, Okay, that's that we will talk about this now. And so again, I'm bringing you back to the traditional versus systems thinking. As you can see now, the impact of these things are put into the dynamics and network of interrelationships for the feedback within the organization. Okay. So, for more self-enforcement, we have always to focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure work, the token reward recognition will always raise the support, and they are each more effective environmental support is high. Yani, environmental support is very important in all levels because the when the environment is correctly made for change, the change will happen. So invest in the infrastructure and make effective reward and recognition usage. Not all the levers are the same. Okay, so as I said, we have to use the right amount of lever in each stage of change. So contacts, infrastructure, and walk the talk must have levers of change. You see, these are very important. The only negative side of contact is just the Goldilocks test. I mean, like you overuse it. Okay, so we have to use it in a rational way. So there is no actually bad or side effect of that except overusing it. The infrastructure is a direct cost. That's actually the problem or the side effect or negative side effect. Trying to cut infrastructure can itself create side effects as well. But remember, infrastructure is an investment. Walk the talk has no negative side effects. Okay. Also, for hiring advocate mass exposure. Hiring advocates fixes that fail. Mass exposure, shifting the burden, shifting resistors will impact heavily the population mix and make it in favor of the advocates. Risks to apply without established environmental support. Now, for resistors and for mass exposure and for hiring advocate, if you don't have the right environmental support, don't use too much of these levers of change. Okay, now let's review and put all these points together. So people support is very important, like contact between advocates and empathetics, can build trust and troubleshoot potential problems. Don't try to substitute mass exposure for real advocacy. Hire advocates specifically for this change carefully and only if necessary. Listen to reasons for resistance to assist alignment before trying to shift resistors. In the environmental support levers, link some reward and recognition to the change, but don't overdo it. Walk the talk shows consistency and commitment, key factors leading organizational change. Infrastructure is not simply an expense; it's a critical investment. Okay, so to move the change, as I said, this tipping point is a model that we apply in organizations using a workshop called Dialogue, Actions and Change, and we use a computer model to execute that. And the tipping point model is about that. So we teach people how to use levers of change in the right magnitude, in the right time, like for the first year, the second year, the third year strategy of change, and use the right amount of change that impacts of levers that impacts also the budget of change. Remember, any change costs money, right? So if you don't use these levers in a very wise and optimized way, then you will end up in a huge cost for change. Okay, and it will never happen. That's the problem. And people back off change because of this cost most of the time. So this model provides a systemic way to think about change. It interacts or combine all the variables in a very good interaction way and keep the out. It's not a silver bullet. Change assumptions and challenging knowledge leads to deeper insight and more effective actions, creating a culture of learning quickly as for the team and make them discuss together and make the change contagious within the organization. That's actually it. Some references, and thank you for your patience. Sorry for taking a little bit of time. We had just like a little bit of delay, technical delay. So if you have any questions, I'm glad to hear these questions.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Hussam. A very interesting session indeed. So if you have any questions, we'll take it up. There was a question from Muhammad. Okay, so if we,
Yes.
how to mitigate the change for fear in the mind of employees? Is this due to lack of leadership in organization or trust deficit between employees and management? What could be the role of HR to support change? This is one question. Mhm.
Okay. Uh, if you take the levers of change, they can be used as a diagnosis tools as well, not only impact tools. So if you take, as I said, we have two sides of change: people support levers and environmental support levers. Okay. So if you talk about leaders, then you're talking about the infrastructure support levers, and they're very important. So you have to uh, give the right support all the time to change. You have to use sympathy, empathy. You have to show stewardship for people within the organization. You have, and especially the leader decisions and HR to hire new people from outside. You see, uh, HR managers, the first thing they do when organizations have a new strategy, for example, or a new vision or whatever, they go and convince the CEO that they need to hire new people, for example. And actually, this is a big mistake that they can do. A big mistake, because hiring advocates in the beginning is actually a killer of change. So you have to use the levers as a diagnostic tool, as a development tool within the organization, and and you see where you impact. You impact the infrastructure or you impact the people side.
Great, great. There is one more question from Khalid Noor. What do you do with the apathetic and resistors to change? I think you have answered it. Okay.
Yes,
Would you like to brief it? Yeah. Mhm.
yes. The apathetics, actually, as I said, apathetics are people who does not think that change is they are concerned about change, like the change is gonna pass over their heads. That's what we call apathetics. Like, oh yes, it's we have nothing to do with this. Let them do whatever they want. You see, that's what we call apathetics. So how we deal with apathetics, as I said, continuous contact with apathetics. Advocates needs to meet those people more and more, because they become incubators as soon as they get in touch with the advocates, and then the real challenge is to move incubators from apathetics, or from incubators to advocates, to carry the change concept. Okay, and that's actually the mechanism that we use by the effect of the levers of change on the people, like apathetics. And so we have to apply contacts continuously. We have to avoid hiring advocates. We have to avoid too much of mass exposure, and invest heavily in the environmental support levers, which is walk the talk, infrastructure, and rewards and recognition. You see? You see, once you master these seven levers, you can start playing with them in a way that you can really impact the change. We applied this model in so many organizations, and that was very clear, very simple, and very easy to control the change.
Perfect. Dr. Hussam, one question is, especially in mid-sized organizations,
Yeah.
okay, what happens is there are very clear who supports change and who does not support change. It's very clear. There are somewhere in the middle, okay, where it's little hard to know exactly whether they are in or out for the change. I know they fit into these seven categories. Okay, so in general, in a simple words, especially for mid-sized, smaller organizations, how do you deal? What do you recommend? How to deal with them?
Those people we call skeptics, actually.
Mhm.
And skeptics who does not know if they follow that they can gain, or if they don't follow that they will lose. This kind of people we call skeptics. They are a type of apathetics that really they show that they are not with change, but actually they are not sure. That's it. Stephen Haynes used to tell us that skeptics are your best friends.
Mhm.
Dealing good with those people will make the difference at the end of the day. So you have to keep uh, like patting those people. You have to keep
Mhm.
rubbing their backs. You have to keep showing them the good thing about change. You have to keep, and this is actually the what we call in the organization the communication plan. So it's the direct contact between the impact on those people is that heavily is affected by the direct contact between advocates who carry or who promotes the change idea, and them, and then a little bit of rewards and recognition. And if they starts to see the change in the environment, the infrastructure, they will start following you, and they will come, and you will see it's like the domino effect. The skeptics, they are too much sometimes, like they create like 60% of the organization. But once one of them or two or three, the leaders of them fall, then the domino effect. You will have
Exactly.
all of a sudden 60% of them become advocates, and here you will start seeing the tipping point happening in the organization. So remember that skeptics are your best friends. Don't
Mhm.
ever feel bad against them. Don't ever actually make them your enemies. They are your best
Great.
friends. They will be your best friends.
Yeah. If I understand, if I just follow all your presentation, so strategy formulation is one important thing. Without strategy, you
Yes,
cannot do anything. At the same time, the leadership and then HR, all the senior leaders pay maybe more attention or maybe at the same level of attention to the change. Okay, they continuously monitor and help the people to get change. Okay, it's not
exactly.
just a force. So this is a continuous process. So you need to
Yes,
spend equal amount of time, if not more, on the change management and make sure that people are on the wagon. Okay, so that one of the key capability for the organization, which will be successful. I think that's a summary what I
yes, and
see.
not only that, Abdul Qadir. The thing that is very important. It's not only dedicating time to talk. It's dedicating time to execute. like
Experience.
infrastructure. The most, because when people see you as an owner for an organization, for example, investing in the infrastructure, like increasing, making digital transformation, buying equipments, buying things, increasing the
Involved.
infrastructure, they will start believing. They will start thinking that, yeah, this is real. So it's not only talking or just dedicating time to
Involved
people.
them.
It's
Mhm.
exactly, it's showing
Involved.
people the work of
Involve
change,
them
that
in the
you're
process.
serious. Yes.
Fantastic.
And showing people that this is an investment. It's not only just a cost, and giving the right rewards and recognition all the time.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Hussam. Each time I hear you, you share something new. Okay.
Thank you
So,
very much.
so thank you very much for giving a wonderful lecture, and it's a very important topic. No matter how many times we hear, it's all again and again. It's very important, and you are
Thank you.
expert in that. And many of our participants appreciated your lecture. And if there is any questions to you, we will just post to you. Maybe you can answer them on the in the event or off the event, whatever. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Hussam. Thank you very much
You're
for
welcome,
joining.
sir. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session, and if you have any questions, please pass it to Mr. Kader, and I will answer it in a promptly, after
Excellent.
the. Thank you very much. Have a great
Thank you.
day. I wish you all the success. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.